Hi, my name is Stevie and I like to write songs. Today we're going to begin the mixing process of all 21 songs that we've been working on up until now. There's a few major things I want to fix about the template that the tracks have been recorded in. And so let's do that today and that'll be a good start. Let's go. One of the things I like about Reaper is that we can open up multiple tabs and have different projects all open at the same time. And this means I can do parallel mixing. In other words, if I find an EQ that I like on a guitar, then I can apply it to all the guitars in all 21 songs at the same time. So we can see here now, I've got all these tabs open. So this is Tree of Life, this is 12, Red Circuit Reflex, Dead Man's Fall, and so on. So they're all currently open at the same time. One of the things I'd like to do today is concentrate on the core foundation of the tracks. In other words, the drums, the bass guitar, and the heavy rhythm guitars. And if I can make some improvements to the way they sound and the way they interact with each other, that'll be a solid foundation for the mix going forward. So any of the EQ and compression moves that I find today, I'll be applying to every one of the 21 tracks. I'm using SonarWorks here, and because I'm mixing today on headphones, I'm going to switch to the headphones profile. So the first thing I want to do today is listen to the drums. There's some frequencies in them that I think are a bit fatiguing in my ears. There's a sort of If we listen to the tracks individually, then it obviously has to be on the overheads that I'm hearing that frequency. So let's try and find it. It's obviously not down in any of these lower frequencies here. It's here. Everything else sounds nice, but here, that's that frequency that I'm talking about that I hear, so it's around 2K. So let's try pulling that out. Yep, I think that is an improvement. If we listen to the snare drum track soloed, it's a bit static and one-dimensional sounding. Plus, I think in the context of all the drums together, I think I've added too much parallel compression and stuff like that to the tracks, and some of the stuff that's coming afterwards, the mastering compression and so on, is causing the snare drum to smear a lot. I would like more attack on the snare drum and maybe for it to not sustain as much as it does. So I'm going to work on the actual close mic snare drum because I don't want to affect the sound of the other drums. I think the cymbals and the kick drum and all sound really good the way they are, so I just want to affect the snare drum. I'm thinking maybe we could increase the attack and reduce the sustain on the snare drum. Two ways you could do this. You could use a transient designer or you could use a compressor. I'm going to try a compressor first. I'm thinking this H-comp compressor might be good because I really like the way the release can be synced to the tempo of the track, which is probably a really good thing for a snare compressor. So let's bring the attack away down. Okay, so that's a pretty extreme setting now, so maybe what we should do is pull the mix down on it. Now, see, in my mind, that feels a wee bit more three-dimensional than that. That sounds quite tame. So let's hear that with the whole mix of the drums. It's quite a subtle effect, but I do like it. I do think the snare has slightly more punch now, which is a good thing. So one thing I would like to do now is go through all the tracks and apply these drum moves to all the tracks and find out if they work in every track. Maybe I'll learn something about it and I can refine it a wee bit when I hear it in different contexts, in different songs. So I have saved those two settings as presets. So let's pull them up on this track. So they're disabled. There's a slight, very subtle amount of attack and liveliness and tightness being added by this, even though it's very subtle. But I think the drums already sounded good to start with, so we're only going to be doing very subtle moves anyway. So that kind of convinces me that it'd be okay to go ahead and put these two moves on all the songs. Right, so I've gone through all 21 songs and added those EQ and compression moves to the drums. Pretty much was the right move in almost every song, with the exception of the AC/DC song, which has a completely different snare, and it didn't really work there. But for example, here it is in Basilica. I definitely like it. It's subtle, as I say, but it's definitely an improvement in my opinion. Let me know what you think. Okay. I like the sound of the bass guitar. I think it sounds nice and gnarly as it is. But we've got trackspacer on it. Now, I don't hear it doing an awful lot, so I want to actually turn trackspacer up until I break it and then pull it back and see what happens. Right, I can absolutely hear it now taking away a lot of the... So at about 50%. Right, that's taking a lot, far too much bottom end away. We go back to where we started again. So I suppose it seems to me like maybe 15% is the right amount. So at least we've established that. So I'm just going to make sure the trackspacer is on and working on every track now. Of course, the big one now is going to be the rhythm guitars. See, I'm beginning to wonder. I had a head cold recently and I had a few problems with my ears because of the head cold. And I went to an audiologist and got my ears de-waxed. And I'm wondering if over the years I've been not hearing frequencies around 2K as well as I should, and I've been overcompensating for them in my mix because I really feel there's an area around 2K on the guitars that I'd love to pull down. But I need a second opinion on this because maybe now this frequency is sounding harsh to me because I'm not used to hearing it, and maybe it's okay. But in the meantime, I'm going to trust my own ears and I'm going to try and find those frequencies and pull them out of the rhythm guitars. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to loop the rhythm guitars here. Maybe I'll pan this center for us so it's a bit better to listen to. Right. So there it is. That's the frequency. That's the frequency that I think is fatiguing me on the sound of the guitars. So we'll try and pull that out. Now the thing it's doing is it's actually making the guitar sound a bit dull now that it's not there. So I think I'd maybe like to compensate by maybe boosting the frequencies around that frequency and see if I can brighten up the guitars without actually pushing that frequency. No, maybe something like this. And maybe add some more sort of chunk around the bottom end as well. See, that's an improvement. I've been working on it for a little while now, and I think this is the final solution for the guitars. Now, I would like to apply that to both guitars and pan them left and right now. I think that's a big improvement. But I'm not so sure about it. I need to be careful. So I'm going to try it on every track and make sure that it sounds good in the context of the mix on every track. Let's hear that with the drums and bass anyway. To me, it definitely sounds better. Okay, so we'll save that track and we'll try it on another random track. I think it does sound better on that one as well. Let's try one more track. You see, the guitar does sound a wee bit duller now, but I always have a tendency to be attracted to adding that sizzle in the top end, and I think maybe I overdo it too much. And I'm wondering if this is a better move on the guitars. The guitars are going to sit back in the mix a wee bit better and still be prominent without that sizzle taking over the whole sound of the track. Let me know if you agree or disagree with me on that move. I'm going to go through all the tracks now, and A/B them with and without that EQ move and make sure that it's a good move across the board on all the songs. Except for obviously some of the songs where I've got different rhythm guitars. I might need to do a different move for them. Right, let's have a listen to the moves that I've made today and how they apply across every track. When you see the red buttons over here, it means that the moves I made today are turned off. And when you see them green, it means they're turned on. So let's get a listen to each track and try and decide whether the moves we made today are an improvement or not. I kind of feel it's an improvement in that song. Let's try it in this one. Yeah, passes the test on that song as well. There's just a frequency that pops out when you turn off those moves that I find very irritating. Cool. I'm sort of beginning to get the feeling we're not really going to have to go through every song and do this because it does seem to be across the board working pretty well. It's noticeable too, the extra attack on the snare drum. It's wishy-washy and it's tighter. But that's my subjective opinion. Let me know if you disagree. It's a tiny bit more subtle in this song because of the more rocky guitar sound, but it's still an improvement, I think. Seems a bit tidier. It seems easier to focus on the individual instruments. Absolutely. Not really doing it on this song because it's a completely different sound. And the other songs don't really have heavy rhythm guitars in them, so we'll not do it on them. So it seems to me today the focus has really been on 2K and how important that frequency is for how a sound has focus. You know, too much 2K in one instrument can detract focus from another instrument, and too much 2K on everything can give the track a kind of a harshness and a lack of an ability to focus on anything in particular. So there's been a lot of 2K taken out of my tracks today, and I think the core foundation sounds a bit more focused and a bit more easy to understand and listen to and less fatiguing. But I'd be very interested to hear your point of view on it, so please let me know in the comments what you think. You can get the feeling when you're doing mixing that you're sometimes going mad and you can't see the wood for the trees, because I think your ears only have a certain amount of attention span, so there's only so much you can do in a single day unless you can work very, very fast. But I tend to be meticulous. I tend to find a frequency, change it, and then want to hear it the next day with fresh ears and find out, do I still agree with myself about that move? So that's what I'll be doing. Tomorrow I'll be coming out with fresh ears and listening to everything that we did today and trying to find out, were they the right moves, and have I lost anything by doing this, or is it all gains? Of course, mixing is a system of compromises. The example I used to always use is that I really love the sound of the snare drum on Appetite for Destruction, Guns N' Roses. But one of the reasons why that snare drum stands out as sounding so good is because it's too loud. It's actually mixed incorrectly. So if you want your snare drum to sound really good, then pull it forward, but at the expense of the other instruments, you know? So it's all a balancing act, and trying to make sure and be careful that we've done the right balancing act is a completely subjective and fun process. But at the end of the day, who knows what's right and what's wrong? I still have a mind to maybe I'm wrong about these moves, so let me know what you think. If you've got any insight into it, I'd love to hear what you have to say. Thanks so much, guys, for watching. I hope you found that interesting today. You guys rock.